Okay. Next case study is the Waff. And so again, just to recap, what we're going through here is we're looking at kind of how societies where the religious authorities played a huge role in legitimizing the ruler, how that may have led to stagnation, economic stagnation, and specifically in the case of Islam. So one of these things, one of kind of an institution that led to stagnation was the Waff. So this is this essentially form of organization. It's not in the Quran. It's a good way to shelter your assets from being expropriated by the from the ruler. It's sacred, and essentially, the beneficiary could designate himself the manager and then draw a salary, and you could kind of leave this organization to whoever you want. And then so I need to back up. What does WAFs do? All right. So essentially what it is, it's like a charitable organization. Like you set up a WAF, you're going to say, all right, I'm setting up this WAF, and what it's going to do, it's going to provide schooling for this block of the city. And I'm putting this much money aside um, to do this WAF. Here's its goal. Okay. So I put all that money in the WAF. Now the ruler can't take that money away because it's in this sacred WAF that's doing this service. Okay. And I'm paying myself because I'm managing it. So it's a way for me to, make some money for myself. And then, if I put a lot of money in this WAF, I can leave it to, say, my favorite kid, instead of having to split the money evenly as dictated by Islamic inheritance law. Now, why is the ruler okay with this? Again, like I can't really take this money away from this person because now they put it in a WAF. Well, this person's providing a service. They're providing something I should be doing. They're providing usually some public goods, sanitation, an orphanage, some schooling, maybe care for the elderly, something like that. So they're essentially providing this public good. And so that's good for me. As the ruler, it's one less thing I have to do. And so they're getting out of their taxes, but they are providing some public service. It's a little bit like how, it's kind of a little bit in the present how we have these like fake charities, like a celebrity will have like a fake charity. They'll set up this charitable organization, and then the person in charge will make some ridiculous six-figure salary. The charity will kind of do some stuff, but it's a way essentially it's a way to shelter assets in the present from taxation, and kind of you could pay yourself something from it as well, or you can pay your friends. All right, here's what a WAF, like the deed for a WAF, looks like if you're interested. Okay, so and it's different from a corporation. So at a similar time, the Western Europe is starting to develop like primitive, something that which would later look like a corporation. So the difference is really the WAF is there's an individual in charge. There's not like a membership or some sort of board. Sorry, my phone's going off. And the WAF in a corporation, you can kind of have your own bylaws within the corporation, whereas a WAF you can't really make your own rules. And so these WAFs eventually become just dysfunctional because essentially they are inflexible. So if I have a WAF that provides school to a block of the neighborhood, that's what the WAF has to do in perpetuity. So I die, I leave it to my favorite child. The WAF does the same thing, provides school to this neighborhood. Doesn't matter if now nobody lives in the neighborhood. Doesn't matter if, now the neighborhood's population is, tripled or something like that. That's what it's supposed to do. Now, of course, this is, you would like to change as cities change, as times change, you would like to be able to change it. So you could change it. Essentially, the clergy had the power to change it. The Islamic jurists could change it. But, you kind of have to bribe them a bit. So it, kind of creates this environment of corruption where it's kind of, there's no formal way to change it, but you could change it, but you got to pay these bribes or donations. And then it gets changed. So these WAFs will eventually become dysfunctional because their purpose, times change, and then it becomes hard to adjust with the times. And so we have these unintended consequences where it creates this culture of corruption where if I want to get something done, I have to pay a bribe. It also weakens the demand for private property rights. Essentially, the reason I set up the WAF is to protect my assets from expropriation. Another way to do this is to have strong property rights where the political elite just can't come take my property or my money. Um, so that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to put it over here in a WAF to shelter it. So if I have this other option, I'm less likely to advocate for a policy that would protect property rights. Um, it essentially allows for wealth sheltering, and then it dampens the incentive to create other forms of organization that may be more suitable and more flexible. Okay, so how does this relate to Islam? Well, essentially, Islamic propagating agents, they are going to require the society to have Islamic law. In Islamic law, you have to divide your assets among your children evenly. And so this then creates a world where I have an incentive to do the WAF because, some people want to divide their assets evenly, but oftentimes you got some deadbeat kids that maybe you don't want to give money to, or you got some kids you're mad at or something. People, rich people, they're always changing their wills. I don't know. Actually, I don't know any rich people, so whatever. Actually, I know some rich people. Okay, I'm not bragging. It's just when you get to my age, you end up knowing some rich people, but they're not old enough to be close to death. So I don't know what's going on with their will. Anyways, so you have this condition where the WAF thrives because you want to essentially circumvent this inheritance law. And then also and then going to our two big players here are propagating agents. So our clergy is definitely fine with this arrangement because they get all the bribes. The rulers are fine with the WAF because they don't need to provide public goods. They don't need to tax people. Therefore, it's like they're less beholden to the people because essentially the public goods are being taken care of by these WAFs. Clergy likes them because they're getting paid the bribes. So these kind of powers that be are benefiting. But again, this is going to lead to stagnation and also this culture of corruption that ultimately is not going to be conducive, or it's not going to provide the conditions for economic growth. All right, let's take a break.